Hello. Welcome everyone to the lecture 4 of data analytics using Python. I'm Dhruv and I'll be your tutor for the day. In this lecture, we'll be working and we'll create some graphs, and we'll be working with something known as descriptive statistics, but on a very basic scale. We'll not know everything about descriptive statistics. That will come in the later chapter. And because before descriptive statistics, there's some tools or some techniques or some information that you need to know beforehand, which is commonly not taught in schools or something. So I will clear the doubt in the next lecture. I'm really excited for the next lecture because I'll be bursting major myths, or let's say will give you information which you will not be able to get in any other place. So I'm excited for that. So for this chapter, we'll work around with something known as insightful information that we want to get using graphs. So let's say we have any particular data set which is given to you, and you want to understand how the entire data set is working, and you need to get a conclusion. The first thing that you need to do is get insights, and then only you will get to a conclusion that okay, this particular business strategy can be developed for this particular problem because this data set is actually supporting the same, right? And just because of that, we'll actually start with understanding how the entire data set is actually spread across. And we have done something like this in our last lecture also. So let's say I want to get the mean of money. So I'll click here, and now what I am getting is 31.58 is the average transaction value that we have here. But what if the transaction value that I want to get for the mean is I want for cash type, what is the mean for card and what is the mean for cash? And let's say we have any other transaction type, then what is the average transaction value for that particular cash type? That's exactly where we'll come up with grouping. So we'll group the entire data set based on the cash type, and we use something as a group type function. So if we go here, you can see gr grouped by cash. We will write df, that stands for data frame, and then we'll do group by, and I want to group by cash type, so I'll write cash type here, and I want to get money, so I'll write money, and I want to get the mean. Now in the next line, I'll write give me this value, and you can see when I'm actually going with group by cash, I can see the average transaction value that we have is much higher for cash as compared to card. So when we were getting the entire transaction value for 31.58, we can see it is very close to card. That means the number of transactions that we have using card is very high, which is obvious because if the average is 31.35 and then for card 31.34, or let's say 31.35, and for the entire data set is 31.6, the 58, let's have 6, it is very close to card because obviously card is having higher weightage as compared to cash. But for now, what insights are we able to get here is that all those individuals who are coming to our restaurant and they are ordering through cash, they're having a higher transaction value, and we can do the same to get the average price of our coffee also. So all we have to do, we just need to write this entire code but for coffee type. So instead of writing anything else, I'll write coffee type, and instead of writing cash type, all I have to do is just change this into coffee type. There is an error. Coffee, the name is not coffee type, the name is coffee name, so we need to change that. So we need to write coffee name here. Now it's done, and now all we have to do is just get information of this, and now you can see that the average price of hot chocolate is the highest, and espresso is actually available for the least cost, right? So from this analysis we can also say that the individuals who are actually ordering using cash, they might be going for cappuccino, cocoa, or hot chocolate, or latte as well, because they are having their average, towards this. So we are able to classify our customers now. We have around 1563 entries for card. We already saw that in our information. 1564 for card, and then for cash we have the other entries, and they are very few, but whoever is coming, they are ordering these four majorly. We can conclude that from this information. So we had some information in our hand, but we are able to get insights out of it now. Now, to understand more about this entire data set, let's just try to create something known as graphs, right? So okay, before we actually see what all is actually happening inside this entire data set, I also want to know what coffee is ordered the most, and I can do it using df now, coffee name, and I want to go with value counts. Now if we click on value count, you can see there are very less individuals who are going for espresso, hot chocolate, cocoa, cappuccino, but there are so many individuals who are going for americano with milk, and you can see americano with milk is around 30.6, and most probably individuals who are going with americano with milk, majority of them are having transactions using card, and that's why the average here is also towards 31.58. Let's not make it very complex, but I want you to understand how we are able to see which particular, let's say, coffee type is most famous, and we can focus on it more. So hot chocolate and espresso here, hot chocolate and latte, you can see hot chocolate is here, and then we have latte. Latte is one where the transaction amount is higher, but the transactions which are happening here are also on a very higher end. So that is a 370 or something. So we can easily conclude from this information that we need to focus on latte more, because it is able to give us more revenue. Although for let's say espresso, we have the least cost, but it's still having the second least transaction amount, right? So it's not majorly adding up to our revenue, because what is revenue? Revenue is basically what is the quantity that you are selling and what is the price. So latte is actually having the highest one here, because at 370 we are sitting, and we are having at 35.61 for transaction value. So it's the highest for us now. You can do it for americano milk also, but for now these are the top three items that you might want to focus on if you want to increase your sales, and not the least these ones. So when we have hot chocolate here, we can work on our inventory like that. And now the second thing that I want to do is just get a graph one, and I want to do, okay, it's not df dot, I want to group it based on date, and I want the transaction value to be displayed. So because I want to see what is the trend line for the transaction value that we are having over the period of time, and I want to get the average transaction value that we have on a particular date. Now I want to see graph 1, and I'll write plot here, and you can see nothing is exactly happening here because we need to double code. And you can see, okay, dates are not properly understandable, they're just overlapping, but forget about that. But what we can see from this trend is on average the transactions have decreased. So for the first half of the year, or if not here, for the first half of the period, the transactions were on a higher end, but now it has decreased, right? And we can see the data set is very volatile, sometimes very up, very down. So that's another issue that we are facing. So right now we have concluded two things. First, Americano, milk, latte, cappuccino, Americano are the first 4 items we need to focus on, and the highest price point items are hot chocolate and cappuccino, right? So and that, you know, the transaction that we are having in the companies has actually decreased by a lot. Okay, the second thing that you might want to know, that would be, what is, let's say, the sum. This is the mean, that is the on average the transaction amount has decreased, but what about, you know, the total transaction that we are getting? So let's say on one day you are having 100 transactions for $1. That will give you an average of $1 as transactions, but the revenue is 100. Now let's say on some other day you're getting the transaction value of, let's say, 20, but the transaction that happened is only 3. So the average, the revenue that you're getting on a particular day would be 60 only, right? But the average that you are going to get is the average sales point is going to be on higher end. So we want the sum here, and I want graph 2 to be displayed to me. And you can see graph 2 is relatively stable, it's just moving up and down, up and down, up and down, and it's finally like slightly higher here towards the end. So what we can conclude here, revenue is stagnant. We are not having much, you know, very extremely volatile, or let's say we are not actually seeing a very high and low trend as compared to our history. It's just the same, but the mean has decreased. That means on a particular day now we are able to get more customers, because let's say there are 100 individuals who are buying a $10 coffee from you, that giving you 1,000 worth, you know, what do we say, revenue. But if 200 individuals are coming now, they're ordering a coffee for $5, you're getting the same $1,000 revenue, right? So this is what it means right now. The average has decreased from 10, we have gone to 5. We can see here from average that the graph has decreased, transaction value has decreased, but more or less it is actually following the same trend in the history. The revenue is still, you know, on the same level. We are not having very high, very low based on how the transactions are, right? We can see, although we can say from 100, 200, 300 is very high volatility, but based on the historical trend we can say it has been like that, so it's okay for us, right? So this is how we can create some of the graphs, and this is how we can get some insights. So this entire data set was about coffee names, and we were able to get some information related to money, card, cash type, date and date type. In the next lecture, what we will be working with is something known as the problem of mean, median and mode. Now this problem is not discussed majorly, but I wanted to pay full attention for the last lecture, for the next lecture, because I'll be telling you about when we use what. It's not necessarily that you will use mean, median, mode both every single time, right? We need we'll understand what it is all about. I will not, you know, start telling you all about it. I will not bore you. That would be it for this lecture. I hope you really liked it, and if there's any doubts you can always contact me. Thank you.